Hopefully this doesn't break. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Afternoon Tea. Oh shit, I did it. I was looking at that XSplit and it actually worked. I think like everybody's name showed up properly. What's up? So this is the first podcast that we're doing ever. And I don't think we have any idea what we're doing. This is just a test to make sure everything goes all right. I'm Sajam. Everybody want to introduce themselves?
All right, my name is Vicious. I guess no one else is going to do it. We have a lot to talk about. It's going to be pretty fun. We got some other folks on the top and the side of me, too.
I guess I'll go ahead. What's up? I'm Brian F. here, and the sole non-West Coast representative for this discussion, just to drive that point home, and here to represent for everybody not in the fighting game mecca of the world, you know, the rest of the disadvantaged U.S. So I am the voice for the struggling FGC member, and I'm here to represent.
I'm Anton, and I'm the connoisseur of gossip in this channel.
That's true. Yeah, he does know all of the dirtiest, deepest secrets.
He's the tea brewer.
Yeah.
He is the tea brewer and the tea server.
I'm drinking coffee like a regular human. I don't know about everybody else.
So welcome to Afternoon Tea.
Yep.
And is it all chilled? Besides me, the only hot cup of tea.
Yeah, it's another West Coast thing. Right?
This West Coast shit is what I'm talking about.
Dude, hold on. First of all,
I'm talking about.
I like brewed the coffee. I have like a gallon of it that it was like there's some work. These dweebs went out and, you know, they drove 45 minutes for boba and food, and they had to gather everybody up. The hardworking individual that I am, just went and brewed it myself.
Shut the fuck up, please. Just stop.
Delicious. It tastes like a labor of love.
You paid somebody to export that cold brew to you. Did you not? I'm pretty sure you did.
Definitely not.
I'm pretty sure I grow my own tea leaves. And dry
in California,
myself.
That's not what we grow here. We grow other stuff more lucrative than tea leaves.
Some other type of leaf.
Yeah,
you know? It just works out. But Starbucks isn't too far from my house. At least, you know, I ain't driving 45 minutes for boba.
That's what they all say, dude. I
am not driving 45 minutes for boba.
Not in SoCal when there's a boba place every 2 minutes.
I guess, dude. I don't know. I don't know this shit. I make my coffee at home like a normal human.
That's not true.
What are we talking about today? What's the plan?
We're gonna go to Phil's later. Hey, you know, so the reason why we're all gathered here today, I don't know if you guys have been following fighting game social media, but a lot of the hot topics that's been going about their timelines is something going on about West Coast advantage when it comes to being a top player, not a pro player, but a top player, right? It kind of all stemmed from having Rob TV visiting SoCal. He was here for Street Fighter League, and he was a part of a Wednesday night fight exhibition, and he won. And he went on to an interview saying, you know what, you guys have it good out here. You guys are kind of privileged out here that you guys have this kind of hub to show off your skills, which kind of leads into sponsorships and whatnot. And, you know, a great following for each and every one of these players. And I thought to myself, I don't think that's entirely true. Hence sparking the great debate between a lot of the FGC folks going on. We kind of had a large thread like the couple months afterwards where Rob TV would talk about, let's see if I can open it up here without crashing my webcam. Am I still live? Guys?
You made it through this time.
Okay, I clicked.
You're learning the ropes here.
One of the things was he quote tweeted Variety Gaming about Capcom's restructuring and moving their esports stuff over to Southern California. And he said specifically, it says, our presence in SoCal gives us intimate access to those resources and community thought leaders. That's the quote from Capcom Media Ventures. And he goes, work hard and market yourself. Wink emoji. Community thought leaders to us non-SoCal residents. And then boom, it just ignited everything. Now we do have Brian F as the East Coast guy to kind of touch up on that, while we have 3 West Coast guys ganging up on him verbally. But I did have a change of heart.
You don't know. Hey, you don't know what team I'm on.
That's to an extent.
I know.
To an extent, you voice your opinions out
I'm
very
on my
well.
own team, dude. I'm off in the ether. I don't think you understand.
You played a little bit of your cards on Twitter, I think. I think your position has been...
I got no response.
A little bit.
Did you notice that I put out the trap? Like, there was like the stick right there, and I was hoping he would knock it away. I was like, oh, this is the trap. I want him to respond. I saw nothing.
Yeah, I wish we could actually pull up some graphics showing that kind of back and forth.
We're not that advanced, Jeremy. You can't call for... This isn't SFL, bro. You can't call for fucking graphics on the screen, all right?
I know, man.
We got a
man,
static one. We got a shot. We got one shot.
That trap was laid out pretty well because you were gunning straight for Rob TV, and it was just
he didn't respond.
Aggressive.
It was a good choice.
He was part of the thread too, which is surprising that he didn't.
There was like 9 people in the thread.
We were all in it. Well, Anton wasn't, but we were all us 3. We were in it, and you know, it brings up like a pretty valid point, which I kind of want to discuss when it comes to FGC players. I mean, mostly for Street Fighter 5 right now, I guess, because that's majority of the conversation. But like, I kind of wanted to get like your thoughts on it, Brian. Like, do you honestly think that this West Coast privilege is real? By the way, before we start to argue, I did have a slight change up, and I was thinking about it for the past couple of days. But I'll tell you my opinion later. But
sure, I mean, yeah, of course it's real. If you have existing resources to help you and any sort of infrastructure, that's an advantage. I think what gets lost in the sauce of this topic is that people often take pointing out some kind of advantage as this is 100% going to carry you to whatever end goal you're trying to reach, which is obviously not the case. But if you look at what areas like the West Coast, and I also bring up NLBC a lot, as it has some similar infrastructure with that, the very strong weekly tournament on Team Spooky, a lot of exposure there, is that something already exists for you to build some sort of name for yourself as a player. So if you are at the same skill level in any number of regions, including West Coast, and you're able to attend Wednesday night fights, East Coast, and you're able to attend NLBC, or you're in the middle of the Midwest, you're in the middle of Florida, you're in the middle of nowhere with any sort of weekly broadcast or an existing tournament structure for you to, put your play on display and then test yourself at the same level where maybe you're not beating top players consistently, but you're able to win every now and then. You're obviously going to build more exposure without putting in any extracurricular activities by existing within Wednesday night fights and NLBC. If I can beat a top player every now and then in one of those tournaments, I'm going to get more recognition before I even go out of my way to build a Twitter brand, build a YouTube brand, build anything on Twitch, do anything on a CPT national level. You already have some sort of foot in the door, and people will know what your name is. And that is huge. And I feel like that's level of recognition many players are thirsty for. They're trying to make a name for themselves. And it's very clear that the same skill level spread across different regions, you obviously have an initial push. It doesn't get you to being a consistent top player and a sponsor necessarily, or being able to travel around the world playing Street Fighter, but it obviously gives you an initial push. And I feel like it's almost like a no-brainer. I don't know. I find it strange that this is a debate at all. It's obvious that if you have these tournaments, you have a slight advantage, at least in the beginning phases of starting your Street Fighter career.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It seems pretty obvious to me that there's an advantage in living in one of those 2 areas in terms of visibility. I don't think it's nearly as much as it used to be, because the viewership for NLBC and WNF has gone down a lot actually in recent years. Like I remember, I think it was like right after it was Guard Crush Special, and then it like changed over, and like around the Ultra era, it used to be like every week was like 10 to 15,000 viewers. It would hit like crazy numbers on NLBC, and then the time zones meant that it was a little lower but still really high for WNF. These days it's way lower than it used to be. Like even with the launch of Mortal Kombat, I think the peak that I saw for Level Up was like 4,000 or 3,000 viewers.
That's right, yeah.
It was just like way lower than it was before. But yeah, there's an obvious advantage. You have access to like resources that they probably don't have. And when it comes to gathering talent or players, right, whether it's production or players or commentators or whatever it is, locally you have the natural advantage of just being close. Like flying people out and flying people in and all that stuff is always extra work for whatever other company you're working for. What I find strange is that the parts of this topic that people choose to talk about, I think they're never the right thing. Like Capcom moving down from NorCal to SoCal, being like, see, they're going down there to tap all these advantages. Now that Capcom's down there, SoCal's going to have the hookup. I mean, Capcom's been in NorCal for a long time, right? Their offices are right next to where the baseball stadium is, the Giants Stadium. And they've been up in NorCal and SF for forever. Who from NorCal has tons of crazy advantages because Capcom is there?
People who work for them? What
Yeah,
do you
people
mean?
who work for
There's people
Capcom.
from
But
the
I'm talking about like players or
Okay.
like commentators.
was gonna
or,
say,
I think
Yeah.
I think another thing that gets lost is people are bleeding all the different categories or
Right.
different paths of success within the FGC together.
Agreed.
I
Yeah.
think there's many different ways to find success in the FGC beyond
Sure.
just being a successful competitive player. And I think for almost every category you look into, there's advantages to being in the hub where these things are happening. For instance, if you're trying to make moves in organizing esports events, I think you want to be near where the esports decisions are being made.
100%.
If you want to
Yeah.
be a commentator, you want to be near where the events are happening and near where these esports decisions are being made. You want to make these connections, and they all exist. I mean, connections are the name of the game, especially for things beyond competition. Competition,
Yeah.
obviously, if you exist somewhere else and you just happen to be that good, you're going to make it no matter what. Punk came out of nowhere. He's just the best. He's
Agreed,
the best.
yeah.
He
the
shoots
problem
top.
is I don't even
For
think
people
that that's
who can't do
necessarily
that,
true.
What's that?
I said I don't even think that's necessarily true. I think in this modern era, being just that good is not enough. Like you have to have other stuff, otherwise you can't compete, right?
I think you can be that good as long as you're really that good. I mean, you have to be so exceptional for yourself to make a career out of just being good. If you're among the best, but you're not like Punk level, you have to do extra.
Yeah,
You have to do extra to make this a stable career.
Yeah, it depends on what you're playing too, right? Because we say that, but currently, like some of the absolute best Tekken players are unsponsored Korean players who are like world class level competition, and I think it's mostly because they're lacking in like the social aspects on social media, YouTube, Twitter. Like those parts are so important, you know.
Yeah, I think for any kind of stable gaming career, you need to branch out and invest in other ways to make passive income from what you're doing. You need to do Twitch. You need to do YouTube. You need to build your brand and get sponsorship deals outside of the main game. But for Street Fighter, right currently, there's plenty of ways. If you're just that damn good, there's plenty of ways to make money without doing anything extra. And so I think usually when we talk about this, we kind of ignore those outliers when we're talking about more the people who are competing amongst the best, not necessarily the best.
Sure.
And I think for those players who are trying to find success, there's way more advantages to being near where the resources are, the connections are.
Yeah.
I mean, invitational events exist also, which have tons of money on the line, and who knows, maybe you know the guy who works for Capcom, who works for E-League, who works for any number of these events. It's the world just runs on connections. It's kinda hard
maybe
to
you're
say
Rob
that
TV
those don't
and you get a
influence.
chance to be in one of those big invitationals because you got invited to the challenger.
And then you'll get bodied, but maybe you put on a show and then you
Yeah.
build your brand that he's doing outside of just the gaming part, and he gets a boost from that. He gets an extra 1,000 followers. Some kind of sponsor notices him. Suddenly he can afford to fly to more tournaments.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. The problem is just like, I don't know. I don't understand why. One, that's like, it's obvious to me that it's true, right? But
Yes.
two, the second thing is like, nobody focuses on any of the stuff that's after that can get them advantages. It's just, man, if I lived in the West Coast or the NLBC, it sure would be great. But then like all the other little things that you can do after that is way more important in my mind to what people aren't doing. Because there's only certain things you can change and fix or adjust about the way that you present yourself, the way you play, the way you try to get advantages, the way you try to like get sponsorships or get on teams or the word of mouth kind of stuff, right? All of those things like are things that you can try to change or fix, but the West Coast advantage or the NLBC advantage is huge. Even on those coasts, the people that go to like WNF and NLBC, a lot of them still aren't sponsored, and I think it's because they're missing stuff like everything that you mentioned before, which is the grinding content, which is, you know, being visible, which is having a Twitch, having a YouTube, like getting on the mic every now and then, showing off your personality. There's so many other things you could do.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it gets blown out of proportion, this whole topic, because I think many people who bring this up, including Rob TV, agree that it's just this initial boost. It doesn't take care of anything.
Mhm.
And I think there's this when people deny that boost exists, it becomes a bigger topic when obviously there's other ways to go about it. And in reality, you should focus on doing what you can in your current situation, capitalizing on whatever you got to find your way to the success you're trying to find. I just think it gets blown up because people are like, it's just a fact that it's nice to have a Wednesday night fight. It's nice to have an NLBC.
Yeah.
It helps in some ways. And I think when that gets denied, people are like, it's just a psychological thing. It's like, come on, just admit it. It's nice to have that. Obviously, I would have killed for having NLBC when I was in Florida going to these locals. I got a chance to play against some of the best players in the country, like Flash Metroid, Knuckle Dew, Tampa Bison, whatever. And I've beaten a couple of them off stream, random local, no one knows. That's like a little bit boost to your clouts at that time before I had any other brand going on. And that would have been nice if that was broadcasted on NLBC. It gives you a little bit of boost before and soon after that, I started doing the social media stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it just would have been nice to have that at that time, and it just doesn't exist for some people.
Yeah, I think the initially when I had this conversation with Rob TV, I was actually bringing him back from Wednesday Night Fights that night. We don't hate each other or anything, so we had like a full on discussion. I saw it as like a very, very, I guess, from a pro player's mentality when it comes to like improving the skill of your community. I'm saying I was talking to him about that. I was like, yeah, we have Wednesday Night Fights, but I was thinking about it for more of the player pool, like talent, more so like than the social media aspect or being like a broadcasted hub, a very, very famous one. I think that's where I kind of got lost with the conversation. I was telling him, I was like, yo, you can get good no matter where the hell you're at, and then go from there to boost your signal is what I was kind of getting at. But it does make sense. I did think about it. I was just like, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I do agree that having these major hubs like WNF and NLBC are going to significantly boost you. But at the end, you still have to do something with it. Your work ethic still has to be there.
I think that's more true now than ever before, because I think in the Street Fighter 4, talking about Street Fighter, in Street Fighter 4, I feel like you could grind online, but I feel like you had to play in person.
Yeah.
You could not practice Street Fighter 4 online alone and really get to that level. Some people did it, but I feel like there's so much execution involved.
There's also more opportunities now online. Like there's more online qualifiers. Right. There's like online CPT events. There's like,
and I think just playing the game online, Street Fighter 5, people don't want to admit it. I feel like you could practice Street Fighter 5 online, make connections, and play with people you have good connections with.
You absolutely can, yeah.
Only online. In Street Fighter 4, it was terrible. I hated playing online. I would drive anywhere I possibly could to meet up with people, have sessions, go out of my way hours to play this game, because you played online in Street Fighter 4. That was it was like Street Fighter 4 online mode. There was characters, different tier lists, different meta. Blanca and T-Hawk were dominating everything you did. Yeah. You couldn't anti-air anything. You had to completely change your combo.
They also had it on every single console too. And this was like in that era where it's like Xbox is coming out every other year, PS3s as well, and they re-released the game. So they had a lot to focus on. So the online was kind of everywhere at that time as well. Mm-hmm. We didn't have cross play as we do on like PC and PS4. So it's significantly different.
Also, streaming and YouTube wasn't really, it hadn't blown up as big when Street Fighter 4 was first starting. I think now that's the reason to me that I think if you want to do it, you have to really focus on your own personal stuff, because I brought up WNF and NLBC viewership earlier and like grinding your own content. Like to me, I think this is the best time if you're not in those regions to work on your own personal stuff, and you have the best chance. Because before it was like WNF had 10,000 viewers and there was no home streams or YouTube channels really that like had any viewership that was even close, right?
I disagree. Well, actually, the home viewership was higher for the select few in Street Fighter 4.
Only for a bit, and it was like a very, very, very few players.
And then when Smug did it a little bit at the end there, they had viewership higher than I've ever seen for any home stream.
I feel like Smug's current viewership is still higher than it was back then.
Smug's is higher, but Pierre Balrog and Justin Wong were pulling in multiple thousands, always over like 2,000 and above.
But Justin at the time was out of control. And you know what's crazy about that is Justin, I think, dropped the ball. He was like the first person I remember hitting 1,000 subs and being like, damn, he got 1,000 subs
in the chat
so early. Yeah, there was a lot of players who had those big numbers. But the thing is like, right,
the numbers were lower in Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, the viewership was all high, and then like, what is anybody doing with it, right? Like, no one is like grinding it and turning it into a big thing. Like, to me, it's like crazy that didn't happen, because I remember Justin hitting 1,000 subs and thinking like, damn, this is the future, right? He had when MKX came out, he had like 1,000 subs, he had all these viewers, he was like fresh off of like Marvel doing super well that year, like he was killing it, he was streaming all the time, and then he just like stopped because he was going to tons of events, and then like all the home streams since then, I feel like have like dropped, and then like now come back up now that people have focused on actually grinding.
I think now the peak is lower, but I think there's a bit more stability amongst the average non-superstar streamer. For instance, like I was streaming since 2014, and I would towards the end of Street Fighter 4, it's like I was at the top of the section if someone else of the superstar status wasn't streaming. And when I was at the top of the section, I mean, I had 80 to 100 people, right? That was the top of the Street Fighter 4
To be
section.
fair, I still think 80 to 100 people is a great stream.
What's that?
That's still a great stream to me. I think 80 to 100 people is great.
Right. I mean, it's not paying your bills.
It's not paying your bills, but it's like a
Right.
totally fine stream, especially in our categories. I think people have
especially in our category.
kind of unrealistic expectations about what your streams are supposed to hit in categories like fighting games. But my point is this, like, this is a good time to, and there's never been a better time, right, to start grinding that stuff, because the local numbers and all these other majors that are happening have such high viewership, but there is not a stranglehold on the weekly content for fighting games.
Yes.
And like, if you want to do that, there are plenty of ways to do it. Like, when I think about my streams, like, my streams are way more valuable to me than me going to WNF personally, and it's different for every person, right?
But you've reached that point where you can capitalize on it.
Right. But that's what I mean, is like,
You had the initial starting point of getting your name out through these established.
no, not through
means.
WNF. I know that you think that. Lots of people think
that's
that. Not
where
true.
I first came to know you. Like, for me, Sajam, it was
He
I was
actually
tuning
didn't-
into.
I didn't do it through
WNF,
WNF.
that's where I
I did it
saw
through
you.
YouTube.
Yeah, his YouTube following was
My start was my
significantly
YouTube
bigger
channel.
than
But-
him going to WNF.
But you can also
for
see
Super
how
Arcade.
different avenues brought you here. I had no idea you did anything on YouTube. I knew you
Exactly.
as the
That's
guy
the thing
at
about
WNF.
content creation and opportunities, is like, when I think about how you start up, the biggest thing that to me built up my, like, not only ability to commentate and be good on the mic, but also visibility. The reason that in the beginning, like, people knew who I was from other stuff, and then I jumped around and like did other games, is YouTube. Right. And like, lots of people in my chat are like, oh yeah, I remember YouTube stuff. It's because when I was back in like 2011, I started doing YouTube content, right? Like, really hard, 2010, 2011. And I built up a YouTube following through that. And I hit like 20 to 25,000 subs in 2014 or 2015, which is forever ago. Right. But still one of the bigger YouTube channels in FGC that's not like Spooky or like one of the other big,
Vesper?
like
you know,
Max.
things. So when Rob TV is like tweeting about opportunity and stuff, I understand what he means, because when I started, I was doing YouTube content, which is what he's doing, right? Like, he was mostly, I feel like a lot of people know Rob for making YouTube stuff. That's like the big thing that he did before.
Before he moved on to Street Fighter V, he was initially a guy that was putting out YouTube content for gaming in general.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's what I think about when I think about Rob TV, is his YouTube channel. So I get what people mean about starting with something else that's not related to WNF, not related to anything else, right? Like, I started with only YouTube content, and my YouTube content still at that time was performing super well, doing super well, even compared to a lot of modern YouTube content, right? So I get what you mean about getting the start from WNF, but my start was YouTube content, which I turned into going to a place where there's lots of people watching. Everybody there was like, this Sajam guy is fat. He sounds like Ultra David. I hate his guts. I can't stand him. Then I went back and worked on my own stuff. Then I came back skinnier and new and improved. And I was like, hey, it's me again. And I got another chance at it. And then
Okay, but I want to interject. The way you structured this whole story, it sounds like you had to earn your way into being allowed into the holy grail of the Wednesday Night Fights commentary block. I had to set up 20K subscribers on YouTube to earn the right to be called fat on stream, and, said I was a Sajam or a
yes,
Ultra David
but it doesn't
clone.
have to be
But it sounds
WNF
like it's a goal
viewership.
to reach.
It doesn't have to be WNF viewership. What I'm saying is, you need to build up your own, whatever it is, whatever your like
You're not
moment
wrong.
or
You're not
gameplay
wrong.
or
I totally agree with that. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying it was still a goal. It was something that you had to work your way up to.
Yep.
It's something that was once again building back into this own existing brand that you were working on. It contributed to your success, and it wasn't
Yes.
something that you were allowed to. Hey, who's this guy? Just get on the mic. You had to work your way up to that position.
Yes.
It's a privileged position to be in because you worked your way to it. You earned it. Now you can reap some kind of reward into it, and into this whole feedback of this whole, this mechanism you set up to build your own brand in the gaming and esports sphere.
Right. But
still-
it doesn't have to be Wednesday Night Fights. I get what you're saying. Wednesday Night Fights is great. Having it is awesome, right? Like, I get what you mean, but it doesn't have to be Wednesday Night Fights. It could be blowing up at Red Bull and having like a super awesome time at Red Bull. It could be little Majin getting top 3 at Evolution, right? He shows up at Evo, he gets top 3.
Right.
His
And then
streams
his
now have
stream
1,000
grew.
viewers every time he plays.
Yes.
Right? He has
You
like
have to be
crazy
ready to
viewership.
capitalize. I totally agree with you, and
You know what I mean?
I think that's the point you're trying to emphasize.
Yes.
So I think there's two different points Rob's is saying it's nice to have this. You're saying you need to work regardless to be able to capitalize on this. I think they can both be true at the same time.
Yeah,
and I
think
that's
I'm
that's the lesson I
absolutely
try
with
to
you.
tell people too. Is that you have to be building. That's what happened to me. I had my stream and I had a really tiny YouTube channel. I started using Twitter to post some tech and try to get some retweets and get some content out there. And then I lost to Momochi in the greatest choke of all time.
Yes.
And I gained like 300, 400 followers that instant.
Yep.
The moment I lost to Momochi on that stream, my Twitter following nearly doubled. I had like a few subs on Twitch out of nowhere too. Like but I had set up this infrastructure to be able to capitalize on that moment.
Yeah.
But once again, what lets you capitalize is getting your ass into that position of an established infrastructure where people have eyeballs on you, including Wednesday night fights, NLBC, CPT streams. There's something bigger that you're trying to set up so that when you get your 15 minutes of fame in there, you got to be able to capitalize on it. So both are true.
Exactly.
You need the infrastructure, but you also need to build yourself up to be able to capitalize.
Yeah, but my thing is that anyone can put themselves in that situation. Not that just because we live on the West Coast, it means that we're going to get that situation.
I think
you
you have access.
Fights every week.
You have access to the situation easier than other people because you live on the West Coast.
But the thing is, the West Coast doesn't have more CPT events. We literally only have Wednesday night fights.
Right. CPT doesn't apply, but you have more Wednesday night fights. You have more of a weekly infrastructure than anywhere else in the country.
It has a weekly infrastructure, but it's still not popular enough to get you to that level.
It's popular enough to get something.
It's still a stepping stone to get to that point. So, like, the thing is, it's the way they said it in terms of how Rob TV said it. Because earlier, like, it's nice to have Wednesday night fights every week. I agree. But I don't think it's, like, the holy grail to get into the spot that you want to be. So
it's not everything. No.
Because a lot of people from SoCal aren't really that popular in general. Because, like, there's, like, a list. Commander Jesse, JB, Dank, and Stupendous.
And I think there's reasons for that.
And all three of them, besides Stupendous, are horrible at marketing themselves, putting out content, and doing anything besides showing up to WNF.
Yes.
Horrible.
I don't want to be, they're all my homies, but I think, and Jesse's trying to step it up recently too, and I've been talking with him about how to improve, so he's making steps towards that. But you can also make the argument that the majority of the players who attend Wednesday night fights are not producing content or not pushing themselves enough to capitalize.
Yeah. It's not even just Wednesday night fights.
I bust their balls about it. It's kind of true.
It's not even just Wednesday night fights. I made the tweet about fighting game content forever ago, like 2 months ago now, 3 months ago now, because it's absolutely true that no one's grinding. And I think
this also is what Rob TV is pointing out, that you got lazy. You lazy West Coast people.
You lazy West Coasters. My problem with that.
I did all the work for me. I showed up this beautiful venue, this beautiful tournament. There's 10,000 eyes on me for playing Street Fighter. I did none of the work, and I'm just going to press my buttons.
3,000 eyes.
Yes.
3,000 eyes these days, and I think that's kind of the idea. Is that?
But here's my issue:
we had to work without any support from any existing infrastructure to be able to get your name out there to hopefully make our way to a CPT event and do well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean. Exactly. I agree with you. Having that is awesome, right? Having that is amazing. Having that is an advantage. I get you. I think Rob TV has an awesome point. I think Rob TV is also lazy as fuck. And I think Rob TV has had tons of opportunity. Well, hold on. Rob TV has been on E-League The Challenger, a television show on national television. He's been twice to the Red Bull Finals. He's beaten all these amazing players in tournaments. He's beaten all these.
I think a lot of people are giving Rob TV shit in the chat room. I don't think they know how many players he's beaten in tournaments.
He's beaten so many good players.
I saw someone compare him to Eli. No offense to Eli. I think Eli's amazing. Rob TV is definitely a stronger player than Eli and has beaten way more top players.
Dude, Rob TV has beaten. Hey, hold on, Brian. You've been talking the whole time. Let me talk a little bit. He has done so much good stuff. He's beaten so many players. He's murdered all these goddamn players on stream, off stream. It's been recorded. He's amazing. He's been 2-time Red Bull finalist. Been on E-League television, right? He's done that shit. He's killing it. He's on that. He's on Street Fighter League, which is a very privileged group of people on a really high production on Capcom Fighters every single week, right? He's killing it. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a Twitch channel. He doesn't use either one. He's been on all these things all the time. Since Mortal Kombat's come out, I've almost uploaded as many YouTube videos as he has in his entire channel's lifespan. That's a fact. And hold on, where's his Twitch? He beats all these good players. Where is he grinding there? Where is he grinding on YouTube? The most popular, biggest clips and moments of Rob TV are him getting on stream and complaining that West Coast has the advantage. Those are the biggest things that he's done. And I think that he should keep doing it because it's way more popular than his YouTube. It's way more popular than his Twitch. It's better than anything else that he's grinding. I think, like, I'm being serious. That is the angle he should hit because he's really good at building up a storm behind that. But he is not good at marketing himself or grinding super hard.
I think this is a new era for top or people who are trying to be top players, though. And I think there's this new expectation of producing content because a lot of top players that I do the streaming thing too, but a lot of these players that do well or okay at CPT events, they move in silence. They practice alone online. They don't produce content out of it. I think there's some kind of mentality behind a lot of these players who are trying to focus on just being the best. They don't like to broadcast what they're doing or produce content from it as much. And I think that's a real limiting factor. So maybe there's an element of I don't practice as efficiently while producing content of it, and my main focus is beating people. And I think I don't mind making content of me practicing because that's just how I've done it for years. But I think there's also kind of a fact, like when I talked about with Samurai one time, he's like, so you stream all your practice, right? And I was like, yeah. And he said, but when do you really, really practice? And I was like, what?
Yeah, when do you really practice?
When do you really practice?
He has that mentality where he saves the good stuff for regionals.
Right. And I'm like, everything I do is it's like a documentary, it's just everything I've done to get any sort of success you've seen has been broadcasted live on the internet, right? It's all there. And I think it's hard to always compare the paths that players who are trying to be top level competitors versus the content creation. And I see sometimes the mentality of it doesn't always work well together when people are trying to focus on being the best versus being known.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And now is the time where everybody has finally realized how important grinding content and other things are, right? Like the West Coast advantage is humongous. It's a really big springboard, right? CPT is a big springboard that you can use. Stuff like Geico Online, the Red Bull series, there's all these different things that you can use as a springboard. And as many of them that you can leverage, you absolutely should, right? It's the modern era. There's eyes on you all the time, right? This is like that opportunity to be like, hey, I have all these eyes on me from all these different places. I need to jump on this, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But I feel like when I look at the people complaining about getting opportunities and this and that, to me, I feel like 95% of the fighting game community is doing less than they should or less than they need to be doing when they want to be. And I'm talking about the players and the commentators and people who are in a position where if they wanted to get more out of it, they could. Right? I'm saying I think 95 to 99% of them are not doing as much as they could or not doing it in a way that they should to grind it. And I'm not just picking on Rob TV here. I picked on Rob TV, but it's not just him. I think it's like everybody. Not just Rob. I think it's commentators and players and tournament. There's so many different people that could be doing way more than they're currently doing. Top players, mid-level players, streamers, content creators. It's not just him, but he is an example of it. And he constantly is harping on how all this stuff is this and that.
Right.
I don't understand it. I wish he would spend that much time and effort grinding into something that's getting him to a place.
Well, I think he's grinding.
He's building from it, actually.
He's got a lot more traction with the amount of tweets he's put out on, or just anything regarding this topic on social media. I think he's just building a lot more. But I am going to agree that the opportunities do present itself a lot more on the East and West Coast, but still, you have to be mad good to even get up on there, to even put yourself on and then do something with it. That's the main takeaway from it.
Mm-hmm. My point is that why is that even brought up as the main point? Is to be like, oh, the West Coast gets all these opportunities, but why are you even bringing that up when that's a given? Are you just trying to discredit and make yourself feel better because you're lazy? That's exactly. I don't get why you should even bring up, oh, because these people get opportunities, I'm not getting any opportunities. But you are getting opportunities.
He's had a lot of opportunities.
He has a ton.
Yeah.
He could have more if he lived on the West Coast. That's probably true, right? I think I agree that if he was on the West Coast, he'd have way more.
Same could apply for JB, man. He's from both East and West Coast, and
what are you doing, JB? You motherfucker.
I'm not
Where's
trying
your
to
stream? Where's your YouTube, JB?
Yeah,
you curly-headed
he does absolutely nothing, but he's sponsored. He's a great player.
He has a top-tier esports sponsor.
Yeah, he sure
does. He hasn't done,
but he's also very strong.
He's super good. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But
that's what I'm saying. Someone moved in silence, and now he has a top-tier esports sponsor, and he's one of NLBC and Wednesday Night Fights, and
he's one of the few players that's done it by doing nothing but be strong. There's very few. There's Knuckle Dew, right? Knuckle Dew has done almost nothing socially besides be a very, very excellent player.
In the beginning, Daigo was the prime example. He never.
Now he's a beast, man. Sponsored by Gillette.
He's forced to stream now. I feel like,
dude, he streams Fire Emblem to 1,200 people.
His Fire Emblem streams are pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean,
because he talks about Street Fighter on there.
That's why you got to watch FGC Translated. That's what's
FGC Translated is a beast.
I don't know when that started, but that's the YouTube channel's been coming up. You should check that out on YouTube right away. It feels so comforting and cozy to be connecting these two separate communities. I love watching that YouTube channel. They do a lot of highlights of these Japanese top players and figureheads and Translated, and there's a lot of interesting tidbits. So you guys, everyone in the chat should check that out.
Yes. Please bookmark them.
FGC Translated is so good. I mean, that's the same reason High Fight's so popular, right? Like, High Fight's just a dude who loves fighting games who just started making clips, and now he's got a bajillion Twitter followers, and he has a YouTube, and he's been hired to do social media for CPT events.
And he doesn't have to worry about performing in tournaments, which is the key component that I think top players are being stretched thin, because now they're expected to make all this content as well. Because that's where I want to defend Rob TV. When people are saying he's lazy. I think he's lazy. I think he's online every single time I boot up the PS4 and shut it down, and he's constantly playing, and I think he's constantly thinking about improving his gameplay, and I've seen it. He's improved a lot. But there's also this expectation that you have to do this other realm of things that may or may not, depending on the player's mentality, contribute to success in the CPT format.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where the defensiveness comes in, where it's like, you can't, it's kind of hard to have everything unless if you focus solely on playing, you have to be like number 1 or number 2. You got to be like consistently top 3 in the premieres every single time, or else you got to kind of stretch yourself a little thin and produce more content. And so I don't know. I don't think a lot of these players are lazy. I just think that they're not focusing on building their brand up to a point where it can get them to more events, because they're focusing entirely on winning. And for some people, it's easy to do both. For me, I think it's easier to do both because I just broadcast what I do and I don't mind.
Right.
I also think that when you say something like, he's playing, he's grinding and playing all day, he's working so hard to do this, like, you got to give him some credit or some slack. I can see what you mean. But if you want to play video games for a living and it's just a little bit harder than what you're currently doing, I can't feel bad for you. It's like I don't feel bad for the majority of commentators who get on big streams all the time. They have opportunities all the time. They're awesome. And then I look and I see 0 of them streaming. I see 0 of them grinding any other place. I see 0 of them doing any of the 500 things I've said on my stream or other places or told them personally 1,000 times would make them have more gigs, more opportunities, make more money, and all these, like, give them more shots to do what they love to do. I think it is hard. But if you want to do something like this and you're complaining that you're not getting the things you think you deserve, then maybe there's an answer for it.
I don't know if we're twisting the words a little bit either, because it's a sensitive topic to touch on people's with whether people deserve something or not. It's
that one is like, it's,
so I think a lot of times people are twisting what he said. Maybe he didn't need to point it out, but I think pointing out that at a base level, you get some kind of, like, you have your first step taken for you by being near a Wednesday night fight in NLBC. I don't think that's controversial. I just think you got to tread lightly when you're talking about what people have earned. And I think that's more what he was intending to say. You have your first step laid out for you. I mean, this path there's no established path for doing this. Some people have done it, but there's no, like, real path for making it in esports at the FGC. And Wednesday Night Fights and LBC have illuminated the first step for you. And that's a great starting point. And I think that's kind of what he really meant. And I think people kind of, it's a sensitive topic and you got to be careful how you word it.
Yeah.
I also think, go ahead.
Yeah, you should go. I've said a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. I also think that because Street Fighter V has this bad image in the community where people think that it's very random, that upsets don't matter as much anymore. So even before, when you didn't win the tournament or you weren't getting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place, beating someone got you so much exposure. Like, for me personally, anecdotally, I went to Evo 2012. I had not gone to Wednesday Night Fights yet. I was not close to Wednesday Night Fights. I was in the Inland Empire, which is about 50 minutes away from where Wednesday Night Fights used to be, when my locals were only 5 minutes away. But beating Ryan Hart, I didn't even make it out of pools. I beat Ryan Hart and Shen in pools, in the hardest pool of Evo 2012. And that gave me so much exposure. I gained so much following. And it's not really about the Wednesday Night Fights. It's all about getting on and getting lucky that you beat someone and making it count. But in Street Fighter V, it doesn't present the opportunity where it really counts as much as it should. If you beat Tokido, like Chocote beat Tokido last year at SCR, he didn't grow as much as he should have from that, I think.
Off
He
stream.
grew, I think his
Yeah.
stream and following is already pretty good.
It did. No,
Yeah.
honestly, he got like 200 subs from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. The last time I saw
doubled
his
his
stream, he had
subs.
more subs than I did. It was
He
like,
doubled his subs from that.
yeah, he gained a ton of following. I think it still helps. And now it's like easier to find someone's social media and Twitch and like all that stuff than back then, right? Like when you beat someone in 2012, it's like, how do I find Filipinoman's Twitter? That was like it, right? Now it's like, I gotta go check out this dude's Twitch. He streams all the time. He's got like, he made a video where he's like, yo guys, I'm at SCR. I beat Tokido. It's crazy. He's talking about it. Like there's all these other things that you can add in.
Capcom Fighters will post a clip
Yeah.
and put your ad in the tweets, and then it's there's a lot of stuff now that helps.
They're actually interacting
You're-
with the players a lot more.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's great. Capcom Fighters have stepped it up a lot in terms of promoting the players and their own social media. I mean, they're like retweeting people's home streams now.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy. I'm happy that they're doing it because you need the directory to grow, right? Like you can't just push, the players that are on stream at this event at this time, because pools only stream so many matches, right? And there's only so many matches in semis and top 8 and like whatever, right? You have to have you got to build the directory. It's why when you're a streamer, you have to host other streamers and support other streamers and send your audience around. Like it's just as important, I think, as working on your own stuff. You have to make sure that other people get the viewership too.
Exactly. You touched on a good point with saying people are lazy, because I've been kind of on the Rob side for a little, really hit home with the lazy part, because I realized that a lot of people full time, and I agree that there's not enough effort.
He hasn't uploaded a YouTube video in 2 months.
I'm not going to say Rob. I don't know
2
what his
months?
situation is, but I know some people
Listen.
have made the jump to going full time, and then now when I really think about it, it does kind of irk me, because I do this when I get home from my 9 to 5, right? And
Yes.
I've been growing my YouTube channel and doing the Twitch thing, and now you're hitting that part of me where like, yeah, I've been working hard, and
You have been working hard. Everybody,
So,
round of
yeah,
applause.
I
for
think
Brian.
I gotta
He
say,
works hard.
when
He's
I
working
tweeted
harder
out,
than all these motherfuckers who want to be
Exactly,
full time, even
He was
though
my
he's got a
prime
full
example.
9 to 5 on top of it.
he was my prime example when it came to my Twitter argument. The only person I think is doing it right is
Absolutely.
Brian. I'll give you the credit you deserve 100%. But sometimes, even if you grind out the game so much, sometimes you don't even get that recognition, even if you win a tournament. I think we had an article about
This sounds
that
like a
not too long
segue.
ago. What's your problem?
I am calling it how I sees it.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, where are we going, Jeremy? Take us to the next destination.
I like how somebody just deleted it right after. We were being a top player doesn't necessarily grant you kind of this viewership, because we did have a G player, which still hasn't been named, on Event Hubs, winning multiple tournaments with this character. And instead of the headline being Gustavo, it was Strider. It was more like, this character is winning these tournaments. Why? Instead of focusing on the player, or at least headlining his name on the article.
There's an Event Hubs article.
It's so funny.
And it said G wins another tournament. And
Instead of
Strider was not happy about it. And
Strider is the only one who's won tournaments with G. It's been him twice.
Yeah, it was
G
him
wins another
twice.
tournament.
It was an online tournament. One of them was an online tournament. And then
well, look, here's what I'll say.
clickbait.
I think the title of it is to make people click on the thing. It's obvious, right? It's like,
Of
it's to
course.
make people click on the thing. I think it being 801 Strider wins another tournament or G wins another tournament, I don't think it matters that much. I think the fact that it's Strider got so mad, and then Velociraptor went in there and was like, what's your problem, bro? And they just started like hashing it out on Twitter. It just tickled me. It was so funny to me. Because the answer to me is, I don't give a shit what the title of the article is. The more important thing to me is that most FGC journalism is not for me anyway. So I didn't even look at it. It just cracked me up. I was like, this is too good.
It's a hilarious title,
kind
though.
of funny.
It is such a funny title.
His response on Twitter when he linked the Event Hubs article was, G wins another tournament. Wrong. I did.
I did.
Pretty badass.
Not wrong. G did win another tournament, technically.
Yeah, actually, they're
61
all technically
retweets,
correct.
Yeah,
They're
that's
both
true.
right.
That's really.
I just think
kinda
that the big
awful.
thing is it's just Event Hubs, fanning the flames of the scrub culture. They've been building up this G too strong narrative for a long time, and
Yeah.
that just drives
Yeah.
clicks. 'Cause
Dude,
their
they went
audience
after him on their
so
podcast where they were like talking about how G is badly designed and all that. I heard Jimmy also went on his ran on his stream about how G is badly designed. This is the best press you could ever have for Strider. I feel like he should just capitalize and be like,
He
I'm
should.
the people's
He
G,
really should.
which he does. It's great.
I mean, I've been there. That was Balrog 2017. I know what that goes, and just run with it. When I got top 8 at Combo Breaker, I found so many people saying, "Who the fuck is Brian F? This scrub." I just retweeted all of them. Every single person who was like, "What the hell is this garbage? This trash kid should never." I just retweet.
So that's where you got
all
the
my
whole
followers to
from the garbage.
retweet. You just gotta, it's an opportunity to grow. Whether or not G is messed up, which he kind of is.
He is.
He's definitely messed up.
Let me just throw that out there.
Super messed up. He's super broke.
Yeah, I read that article. G wins another tournament. Yeah, he's broke.
Did you see? So you saw the article, right? The actual title, I was digging it up. It says job. It was like a full string title, and it had like that third topic as G wins another CPT event. So
there was like 4 things in one.
Yeah, so it wasn't like the main topic of discussion. It was literally, which we can get into, is job application requirements. Mike Ross makes an FGC appearance, and then third, G wins another CPT event, and Daigo picks him up, and then MK11 1 week later, and more. It was like the headline title for their podcast where they cover a string of topics. So it wasn't even just like G wins. This is how he won. This is the player who did it. It's like, no, here's the entire.
They're just going for the most clickbait per word percentage they can go for there. They crammed a lot of clickbait into
the title of this is going to be Rob TV lazy, Sajam rips him a new one. My YouTube is going to be out of Sajam kills man live on podcast. No, I like Rob TV. It's not my fault he doesn't upload YouTube videos. Look, the thing is about this article.
He's still going.
The thing is about this article is they got exactly what they wanted, which is Strider made that tweet. It got 61 retweets, which is what you said, and then all these motherfuckers clicked on the Event Hubs thing. They're like, Mike Ross is back. They had the articles writing it, and then they started clicking on this shit, and like now all these people tuned into the Event Hubs podcast, and look what you've done.
I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Players just don't like no one likes. It's the same mentality. You don't want to be discredited for being from West Coast. You don't want to be discredited because you won with G, especially since Strider has proved himself to be one of the best competitors in the world over like a decade.
With any character,
finally won first place. So no one wants to read that, especially when you win twice. But you got to just take Event Hubs for what it is. They want to create a narrative, get everyone to get their pitchforks out and get the riot started, and that's what generates some clicks. So they've been building up this body of content around, gee, should he exist and should we ban this character for good? You throw this question out, and then it gets people on both sides heated. You get clicks because who's going to read a nice article on Event Hubs about, wow, Strider, such a strong player, he win, yay, golf claps. No one's going to read that.
Yeah, check out this sick whiff punish. Boo.
Like, no one cares. Actually, I would boo it. If it's G's jab whiff punishing something, I'm going to boo.
Or his standing line kick, his jab is standing line kick.
I think standing short is better, but the jab one.
They're both of his buttons. Man,
jab
he's a good
broken.
character.
It depends.
Now there's going to be 801 Strider's going to be quote tweeting this podcast, another podcast ripping apart G.
If you want to make sure when he does so, follow him at 801_Strider. Yeah, I definitely want to plug him because he's earned it. Honestly, he's been one of the main guys to watch since the inception of the revival of Street Fighter.
He's
Street
a beast.
4, he's been grinding it out. His Abel play in Street Fighter 4 and then his Laura play in seasons 1 and 2.
How does he confirm counter hit step kick into another step kick? He's a cheater.
He plays the dumb characters smart, which is so scary about him. Yeah. And I think that he gets a lot of discredit because he's playing characters that are traditionally viewed as dumb, but the stuff he does with them is absolutely incredible. And if you really try to play G at that level, it's really about extremely strong neutral and control. And on top of that, you have the stupid 50-50s that come with it. So that's always been his style. And I feel like if anyone tries to play G at that level, they're just going to get mauled. So I do think there's problems with G, but you obviously have to be ridiculously good to win, no matter who you're playing in this game, no matter what tournament you're going to. If it's CPT, you got to be a god to win.
It's hard, dude.
It's the same reason for every top tier you've ever played. People are like, oh, season 1 Chun-Li carried 17 people.
Yeah.
No, it's just that she was the best character in that game, but everyone had to play Chun-Li. Everyone had the even playing field. Just like your season 2 Balrog.
Fighting against season 1 Mika.
Season 1 Mika was more broke.
Dude, season 1 Mika was an atrocity.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, the worst character design in modern Street Fighter history by far.
God damn, she was a beast. I'll tell you what. Oh boy, that character.
I didn't want to interject.
Irish whip mid-screen, wall bouncing, and back Irish whip, crouching short, plus on block, crouching fierce.
Crouching fierce.
Yes, crouching fierce being plus.
You guessed your way out and you survived the block string, and then she's like, let me just do it again.
Yeah, and then you just plus.
And then you got to guess again.
I hated. Oh man, that character. Whew, shit was great.
It was 801 Gustavo, by the way. I fucked up. Magic Moss.
You fucked it up.
It's 801
underscore Gustavo. By the way.
Gustavo is the only player who all the commentators just call him Gustavo instead of Strider. I don't know why that is.
I don't know. I'm sticking with Strider 100% because it's just what it is, right? Does he actually use 801 Gustavo in tournaments now?
No, he uses Strider.
Yeah, he just enters his. I don't even. Does he still have 801?
Yeah, that's his area code. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's the other thing that when NyxRose came back, I think it's kind of funny. He brought up the whole 801 thing and how it's like, Gustavo, it's so sad that you're the only person doing work in your region. I need the rest of Utah to step up, yada yada. And I thought it was funny, and I think it kind of speaks to how NyxRose has been out of the loop for a long time, and that I don't think regions really exist in Street Fighter V because I think it's all about online play.
Yeah, it's like that for a lot of games
for a long time.
So I think NRS and KI had the first feelings of that since before Street Fighter V came out and people were all online and stuff. Street Fighter 4 was still like an offline game, but KI had such good netcode, and NRS games had great netcode when they fixed the MK netcode, so that the local numbers kind of went down a lot, and everybody's training partner was like someone that lived 5 states away that they just played online with every day. So like it became like a completely different environment and feeling when like everybody's training partners are like, oh, my training partner, I live in Southern California, my training partner is Sonic Fox, and everybody's like, what? And then like when you think about it like that, the regional situations become so different. And so it's like, well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it shows just how out of the loop, because in Street Fighter 4 I think that really did exist, because like I said, you had to play off.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, in his region he has this player that he plays with to know that matchup, right? And now it's like, oh yeah, on CFN he plays this guy.
I found one guy, and it doesn't matter where in the country they are. If our connection for some magical reason works well, I play with you.
Yeah,
and it doesn't. You could be 3 different people in California. One is unplayable, one is perfect, and one is average. And it doesn't. And someone next door, I can't play them at all. I don't play David, just a kid. He lives down the street. His connection is garbage. I'm not going to play him. But I play with Strider online. He's in Utah.
Yeah, that's true. What's funny is I've had people in NorCal or like other people in like California not be good, and my connection with Strider was great. So I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
we've had that sometimes.
Just gone.
Time and time again. I don't know what it is with like
Anton has the worst connection I've ever played on in my life.
Listen, I have 1 gig down.
Yeah, you played on Wi-Fi for fucking 15 years.
Show you this unconnected Ethernet cable.
Oh, see, he does it on purpose.
Bro, the worst connection I've ever played on.
Wi-Fi warrior.
I've never felt a worse connection in my life. That shit was horrible. I'd rather play someone in Europe.
That's don't ever say that again. That's actually terrible. I've done that with PC Street Fighter 4 because it was late at night and I had no choice. But hey, a part of that, this discussion we were talking about regarding Gustavo and NyxRose, I think this is a big one that Anton kind of wanted to touch up on, is the job application requirements. That one was kind of silly, but I kind of get it. Like you got to at least practice what you preach kind of thing, where you know what you're talking about to give you some sort of credibility. You play to an extent.
The writer application for Event Hubs included a section where you had to play a 1st to 5 online with an Event Hubs employee.
It's what it says here. It says work examples is Settle It and Smash. Applicants will play an Event Hub staff member in an online Super Smash Bros. Ultimate best of 5 set. This will be done to gauge the applicant's abilities in the game. A wired connection, Anton, is recommended, is what it says.
I'm wired.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't know about that. Settle It and Smash.
And then I know James took to Twitter as well, where one of his examples was like, I enjoy basketball thoroughly. I follow it all the time. Does that mean I wouldn't be able to, or I wouldn't be credible enough to be a journalist on it?
I'll cross his ass up right now.
Those examples are so stupid. I feel like when people bring up sports in relation to writing, like sports writers, sports have existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's an entire body of science around sports. There's a culture of, I grew up and my dad took me to the game and I've been watching this since I'm a child. Fighting games were birthed in 1992. Every single game is completely different. This is like if basketball every single season, they changed the physics of reality.
And the ball.
When the next season, suddenly the ball is fucking jello, or I can just jump 30 feet in the air the next season. You need somebody who's in there because nothing remains consistent with fighting games.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. I'm not going to go off.
I absolutely agree with you.
It's not a good comparison. Do not compare sports writing to FGC writing. It's just not the same.
It's the classic. I don't need to be a chef to know that this tastes good, and like it's like people always have all these reasons about like I don't need to stay current or follow different things to know how this works. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, playing people in a 1st to 5. First of all, they never said you had to beat them in a 1st to 5.
No, you just have to play them to kind of gauge your skill. It's not like, hey, you're fighting.
What if it's just to make sure you have the game, right? Like, what if they're just like,
that's
they're
what
like, what if these motherfuckers don't even have Smash? They're just making this shit up.
That's what
Which is
too.
plausible. I mean, people kind of do that sometimes. They don't own any copy of like Street Fighter 5, but they write about it all the time, or they don't play it anymore.
Yeah, right. Like I mean, fucking, how are you supposed to know, right? They didn't even say what it was about. And second of all, I think I'm of a weird opinion, which is I think if you're going to write about or follow or write about or commentate or be involved with the game, you should actually play it and take interest in the competitive and local level scene. Fucking bizarre opinion, I know, but like I don't know. It seems like it should.
I don't think it's too wily.
Shouldn't it? It feels like it should be common sense, right? Like,
yeah, some arguments I heard were that they don't want to encourage practices like this because they said it was like destructive hiring practices for maybe other mediums. And I can see, like with the sports writing example and other mediums, I get why you don't want to require writers to know about that.
Sure,
if it's investigative journalism, you don't have to be a politician to write about politicians.
Yeah,
right. But it's a little bit different since this is something that is changing all the time, and I feel like your investigation is playing the game. Part of your investigative journalism is you play the game to see what's up.
Yeah, play the game, follow tournaments, follow the scene. It's like, yeah.
The other argument was that it's about passion, but everyone can play games. Like, why would you write about something you don't understand or you don't know and you don't play?
Because it pays the bills.
And then you end up with these Kotaku articles about Blanco being low tier, but you should still play him because she's low tier. Or you get like Ryu and Ken definitely have a lot of sexual attention in training like tutorials.
I remember that article.
Then there's a place for that. There's a place for articles like that. It's just I think there's also a place for people who are a little bit more informed about the mechanics under the hood, which usually comes traditionally from playing the game itself a little bit.
It just depends on what they're looking for. Like the thing is, Event Hubs doesn't need someone who is a fucking top 100 Smash player. Right? Like, they don't need anybody like that. They just need someone who's familiar enough with the game to be like, okay, here's what's happening at all these major events, right? They need someone to put out Smash articles to draw in a Smash audience to their website. All they care about, right?
Yeah, it's very, very website specific because they do throw in from time to time like strategy guides or new tech that's been found. So they at least want somebody to kind of touch up on it if they're an expert in said game or if they're writing for said game to at least understand what's going on in this video so that it's easier for them to push out that content or at least push out that article in a faster time,
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. I a lot of the articles like usually does is just a content creator say here's a YouTube video page before linking the video and add text so it looks like we're writing something and you get an extra click and then we'll link the YouTube video. So that's what their content generally is. Yeah. So if they're going to do that, I think if it's going to be like Smash Brothers, here's a new technique in Smash Brothers that someone made a video about.
Yeah,
probably you want someone who already understands the mechanics, which I think an easy way to test is if they play the game a little bit. That probably means they're a little bit more inclined to understand it. You want them to know that ahead of time and to quickly put out crap rather than sit around. Okay, I have an assignment to write a video about an article about a technique. Okay, what is shield? What is this with stomp, footstool, and smash?
Yeah, that's what causes them to buy the game.
They have to research all these things just to write this clickbait crap article. You want someone who can just pump that crap out instantly. I get it.
You need someone who can be like, oh, look at this new tech, and then write about it at like they understand how it works. It's like if you have a Street Fighter person, they need to know how a V-reversal works so that when you option select something into something, like, right, it's like the simplest little thing. It's like, okay, I just need you to know that the mechanics exist in the game and then write about them. That's all there is to it, right?
They don't have time to train good writers to learn a little bit of tech. They want bad writers who know just the medium.
Yeah.
If it's more of a piece about community or something, a bigger writing piece where they actually want qualified writers about non-game stuff, I get not having people who know how to play because you don't need to know how to play to write about that stuff. You require investigating, talking to people, putting together a good article, but that's not what Event Hubs is.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people got strung up on Twitter about this is because they're channeling their own insecurities because they read into it as in like the person has to beat Daigo to get the job as a writer at Event Hubs. I think that they're, even though you're not that good at the game, it's just a basic understanding test. Just like, oh, I'm passionate about chemistry, but what if I don't know how to work that machine? Do I deserve that job more than someone else that does know how to work the machine?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just one of those.
It's the same kind of argument you always get about writers, commentators, like all these other different roles and whatever. I don't know. It seems like it's like people freak the fuck out about it, and it just cracked me up. I was like, it's not that complicated. It seems like a pretty simple thing for me. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, some of the people got heated at me.
You're cutting out again, Brian. Speaking to the microphone. Man up.
Hello. I've been speaking
Okay.
directly into it. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I threw my 2 cents into the ring, like I said, the main argument that people who got really passionate about saying I'm stupid for thinking this is that it's destructive hiring practices. And I could see that if this was like a real publication writing real articles, but it's event hubs, so I don't think it's that serious. But that's where the defensiveness, I think, came from, because they saw this in other areas of the industry where they didn't want to see non-writing requirements for the assignment, which I'm not going to say I understand that, because I feel like if you're going to write an assignment, why not hire someone who has some background in it?
Yeah.
But that's an industry I'm not part of, so I'm not going to say that's right or wrong. But that's kind of the viewpoint that I heard from people who cared about this.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think it makes sense. I get why some people would be mad about it. I didn't think it was a huge deal, but it stirred up so much controversy, so I was like, all right, well.
Is it
It's
fair
event
to
hubs.
ask?
It's not a big deal.
Is it fair to ask for, people who understand a little bit of the game to get those jobs? I don't think it's a big misunderstanding.
No, I think that's the only reason I have a job, so we should keep it that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of leads into, I think you had a good amount to say for the MK Summit, as a matter of fact. We were talking
MK
about,
Summit's coming up.
Yeah, that's right. We have the MK Summit coming, next weekend, I believe?
Yeah,
They've already
next
announced the talent, the roster. We had the qualifiers this past week on Wednesday for both East and West Coast, by the way, just to kind of,
There was no Florida qualifier.
None. There was no
not an
Oklahoma
Ohio qualifier.
NLBC,
Midwest
Wednesday Night
one.
Fights qualifier. That's all. That's where the opportunity is.
Yeah, but there was a lot of gatekeeping. A lot of people came in from all over, even international players coming in to kind of take that seat, and one of them actually did.
Yeah. Well, the internationals came to WNF because they knew Sonic Fox wasn't there. They're like, we got to get the fuck away from Sonic Fox. I watched Sonic Fox 50-0 Samij on his stream, who's the guy that got the qualifier from NLBC. I watched him 10-0 Foxy Grandpa, who's like an EVO finalist.
He's a godlike too.
Sonic Fox is fucking everybody up so bad. Happy Pow is from France, and he was a really, really good. He was at E-League actually for Injustice 2. He's a really strong Flash player. He showed up with Jackie, which is like a great character if you play Flash, and dunked everybody. He's really, really solid. He won the WNF qualifier. The NBC qualifier was won by Sonic, but Samij got second, so the spot went to him. It's the same thing as Dragon Ball, right? The Dragon Ball Summit, or the Dragon Ball Summit spot, I think was won by Sonic, but Hook and God got second, I think is what happened. So that's how Hook got into the Summit last time, and then he ended up winning the Summit. So that was pretty cool. But the Summit's coming up next weekend. I think it's going to be dope. I can't wait for it. But there's a lot of people complaining about the gatekeeping and complaining about how like maybe Sonic and Dragon shouldn't have entered into that one. There was no auto-qualified players in the WNF one, but a lot of people were mad about it. I think like my stance on it is I didn't love the gatekeeping. It would have been cool to watch the tournament without it. But if it's not in the rules, then I don't blame Sonic and Dragon for showing up and playing in it. Especially because they haven't played in any online tournaments really that much. They've only ever played in NLBCs and like local events. They haven't played in any big tournaments. So that was probably the biggest competition they'll get before the Summit. So I understand why they'd want to like play in tournament and see how they, do. So it made sense.
They want to get themselves ready for the Summit. Like people are going to perceive it a different way, but it's honestly from the player's perspective, they just want to be the best that they can be going into such a big event. One
thing, I agree with Curly. When I saw the bracket, I thought that they fucked up because I don't know who seeded it, but Sonic and Dragon were on the same side, so they had to play in winter semis. They're the two qualified players for the Summit. They absolutely should be 1 and 2 seeds. There's no reason that somebody else should get a spot into winners finals without playing Sonic or Dragon, I think, in theory.
Right. Yeah, my view on it is, as a player, you do whatever you can, take any opportunities you can, and Sonic Fox is going to win everything and go out to every tournament and make money, of course. But I think it just, from a viewer perspective, it just kind of kills storylines as they're forming. Suddenly, you have lame duck matches which don't matter, and then grand finals, who gives a crap? Because
top 3 didn't matter.
He already qualified. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, the top 3 didn't matter at all. The loser semis match was the only match that mattered.
Right, with Combat and
Samij
and Dragon.
Yeah.
And so once
Combat
Dragon
and
won, it was over. Like Samij, who cares if he beats Dragon or not? I guess he did, which was cool, but it kills the storyline. And I feel like an example where they had qualified people kind of banned from tournaments was the regional finals for CPT in 2017. I think that produced amazing storylines because in that format for CPT, at the regional finals, the top 7 players were already qualified from the regional points. And then the day before the regional finals, they had an open bracket tournament where anyone from that region, if they got first or was the highest, I think they actually region locked it. So which was even better in my mind. If you're from the U.S. region to play in the U.S. regional finals, you have to win the tournament. And if you get that, you get the spot to play in the regional finals the next day. And that's where we got Cool Kid versus Wolf Crone, which was one of the most beautiful grand finals I've ever seen. It had a great storyline before it. Some guy from the Midwest that people loved and some guy that they hated because everyone hates Wolf Crone. And it was just a beautiful thing to see. It was just a great storyline. And then he earned his spot to play. Imagine if Punk was playing in that tournament as well. And then it was Punk and Uncle Do grand finals. They're going to play tomorrow, and they're just playing for money. And then the person who qualified got like 5th place. It's not the same storyline. Grand finals should mean something.
Yeah, that's the only issue I think, right? Is like when the rest of the tournament stops mattering. Even on commentary, they're like, "Yeah, Sonic's about to beat the shit out of him, and the spot's already decided. Who cares? Like, I hope Sonic beats him fast so we can get out of here." And I was like, "Oh man!" And then Sonic did beat him fast.
People do hate Wolf Crone. Let me clarify in the chat. People absolutely hate Wolf Crone.
He did. Talk about it throughout the entirety of NLBC. He's like, I've been training Samij in this matchup the whole time. He kind of alluded to the fact that it felt like he was already setting Samij up. That's what somebody else said in the chat too, is they didn't like the way that Sonic Fox was talking about it. The entirety of NLBC. He's like, he should be doing this and that because, we've trained like 1 million matches and he's definitely going to get in. It was like a big spoiler.
Sonic Fox even tweeted after, Samij makes it into the summit all according to plan. He came over and studied with me for about 5 days. Turns out gatekeeping works. Yeah. So, they're in cahoots a little bit.
Yeah.
Collusion is
he
back.
Didn't press the buttons for him, that was the plan. He wanted his homie to get in.
Yeah.
Do what it takes.
Yeah.
What if Samij had to play Sonic Fox in the bracket? Would he have thrown it? Ooh, probably not. But
no, he beat him twice.
Yeah.
Sonic 3-0'd him twice. So
if you were on the same side before to qualify,
I feel like beat him. It's a little different for Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat is a newer game, or it is a new game. So the storylines aren't set in stone yet for us to care if it's a Samij versus another random and Samij wins. It doesn't even matter. I guess the suspense of winners finals matters, but I think
it's for the summit spot. I think that part's big, right?
For the summit, like it's so early in the game. It's not like the CPT, even in 2018, right, where we had the last chance qualifier. So many people broke out because 31 of the best players couldn't participate because they already had a spot. But that gave like 32 through 50 more time to shine, like Flaquito, Dinka Diaz.
That was crazy.
DJZ. Yep. And that's where the storylines matter. But in Mortal Kombat, every game, everyone is you. And what if Samij did beat Sonic Fox? That would be a big storyline starter. Of course, he didn't because Sonic Fox is the best.
No one's beating that guy.
But I think Samij probably would have won the tournament anyway. So
my hope is that the next time Summit does any Summit, that they just lock the players out of the qualifiers. I think it would be better for them and also for the players so that there's no reason to enter anything. The only reason I would think that they would want to enter is, like I said earlier, Sonic wanted Samij to get in, but also it was like a good chance for them to practice in tournament. Hasn't been any Mortal Kombat tournaments yet, right?
I just wish he didn't go to social media the way he did because
that's very really Sonic Fox of him.
Yeah, he did that intentionally. And, you got guys like L.I. Joe kind of tweeting about it. Then Rick the Hado and then Flo were all talking about it. They were just very, very against what they saw was like, quote unquote gatekeeping is what I meant to say.
Which is weird because he 3-0'd everybody in the tournament, including Samij. So it didn't even look like it was like a gatekeeping thing. It literally looked like he just showed up, fucked everybody up.
Well, the brackets worked out that way. Like I said, imagine in a different scenario where it was instead of Sonic Fox Dragon and winter semis, it was Sonic Fox and Samij.
Yeah.
I feel like Sonic Fox would still just beat his ass, but what if that was the goal? Could you really stop him from doing that? What if he's like, my whole point of playing here is I want to win, but I also want my boy to get in.
Yeah, that's like probably the issue, right? And it just compounds on like summit voting, which a lot of people don't like, and then like a bunch of other stuff. So I get it. I understand why it would be like that. That's why I don't want it in the future, just to avoid players having to deal with that shit without dealing like the TOs feeling weird about how they see brackets, with dealing with like the summit themselves. People are like, Summit, why didn't you ban them from entering? They're like, oh god, now we gotta think about this. So that's why in my head it just makes sense to just not let them play.
And they won't get the practice. They won't get the practice they need, though.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of issues to that.
Yeah, that's just what I think. Well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like it's a pretty easy solution.
I'm kind of curious because I missed the qualifiers for DBFZ. Was it just like that as well? I know you mentioned Hook Gang God, the way he got in. It was kind of similar.
Yeah.
Because Sonic Fox was also playing in that NLBC, I presume.
Yeah, and Sonic won, I believe, and Hook got second to Sonic, which it turned out to be a great storyline. And maybe the same thing will happen in MK, where he got second to Sonic, and then grand finals of the summit was Sonic versus Hook, and Hook won. So maybe that same kind of thing will happen where Samij shows up at the summit and beats Sonic Fox in the finals. You never know, right?
I would love to have him make me eat my words, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That would be great. But Sonic Fox is a different beast.
But yeah, at least we get to see that Sonic Fox is dominant before this tournament happens, right?
Sure.
That was cool.
I don't know the other 14. Like I don't know how Honeybee's doing. I don't know how Tyrant's doing. I don't know how good they are. How to gauge them if they don't compete in these tournaments. Yeah. So how are they going to make us care about Dragon and Sonic Fox as the front runners of, the summit versus, because the game is so new, we don't know who's good. So we need them to join and enter the tournaments to see how they fare against each other.
That's true too. I mean, the summit's just so early in the game that it's the first big tournament. Like that Dragon Ball Summit wasn't like that, right? Like this is the first big Mortal Kombat tournament, the summit.
Was there any events prior to that for Dragon Ball Z?
There was Combo Breaker, right? Combo Breaker was before the summit.
Okay.
And I think CEO was either right before or right after. I don't remember. But Combo Breaker for sure happened, and Final Round, and like Dragon Ball came out in like January, like late January, and the summit was in like the summer. So it was a long time.
That brings up Japan, if you're talking about this whole gatekeeping thing, I think you can do qualifiers at like weeklies where you ban people, but you can't say you can't compete in Combo Breaker because it's a qualifier for Summit. If they tie it to major events, you can't do that.
Right.
But if it's a weekly, I feel like for storyline purposes, I'm fine with it. But you can't ban people from these big events are going to be big with or without the summit.
Yeah, with all the viewership and all the money. Like those events have hundreds of entrants. There's a lot of money on the line too.
Oh yeah.
So you can't just like ban them from that.
That would be very whack. I would be very upset if they banned people from entering those. Yes.
And they didn't. When Combo Breaker was a qualifier for the Dragon Ball Summit, and that's why Fenrich and Doza tied for 7th, and we had another match in the top 8 where they had to play each other for a spot in the Summit. Which is when Steve was like trying to explain to everybody that was about to happen, and he fucked up and said "ladies and dragons" instead of "ladies and gentlemen." I
like that idea. But I like really that even better. Ladies and Dragons was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was like, "You guys ready for some more Dragon Z Fighters Ball, Ladies and Dragons?" Yeah, and I was like, "Oh shit! All right."
Everybody loved it. Everybody ate it up. They're like, "Yeah,
real happy accidents."
He said, "Make some noise," and then everybody was like, "Yeah, make some noise." Shit always works.
It doesn't matter what Steve
said. Tasty Steve could shoot a guy dead and be like, make some noise, and then the body would be dragged away just like out of there, and it would be fine. Everybody like, yeah, kill the guy. Woo.
And he's been killing it, man. He's been showing up like to the Street Fighter League as well. He's been making a lot of noise there.
I'm really impressed. You guys are there every single Thursday at the Street Fighter League, looking nice and tidy. And then I notice Brian F is in California, and then 5 minutes later, he is streaming live in another state across the country. Hair is a slightly different length.
No, he's at the hotel and he modeled
it up.
He modeled it exactly to his room wherever he's at now to kind of match his hotel room.
That's the secret.
That was part of the contract. He was like, I'm only going to stay in this particular hotel every week if it looks exactly like my
professional.
Yeah, they built a studio for you so you could teleport back after Street Fighter League every week. I'm very impressed.
Of course.
That's really... Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
I'm like, damn, they just teleported? That's that West Coast privilege. Oh man, they got all the advantages over there.
It was like when we used to shoot ESL King of the Hill, and I would have the same hair length for 2 straight weeks and be wearing the exact same t-shirt for 2 straight weeks. But then that next Tuesday I'd be free. It's like, whoa, how did that
That's exactly
happen?
why they hired me. They would never get that ambiguity with any of my hair.
It's true. So you do have that big benefit of having the bald head, so they can never tell what your actual hair length is.
Triple B's, baby, big bald benefits. But speaking of SFL, hey, listen, calm down over there. I know. So we've seen Brian week after week playing through SFL. I've kind of asked him about his opinions on it, which we'll get to. But I kind of want to know, like, outsider's perspective, or people just viewing in, how you guys think about the league so far. I've also I've popped into like Majin Obama's stream. I've popped into Flo's stream because I would ask them how they would feel about it. If there's anything they would change about it, like the pros and cons to it, you know.
I think it looks very pretty. That's one thing about it. The production of it is very pretty. I think the graphics and the graphics packages and the way the stream looks is really cool. It's very similar to the Japanese version of the league, obviously, but I think it's really, really cool. I don't love the banning system, but it's not like a huge deterrent that would make me not watch the show. I think it's interesting still, and I think it's cool. I'm with it. I'm about it. I think SFL is neat. I enjoy watching it every week.
I really hope. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really hope they do another year of it, because I feel like if this was just a test run, they're on the right track. Because the banning system is fun. It's actually a fun.
I think it's very fun.
Yeah, but they need to flesh it out a little bit more. Like Javits was on Twitter tweeting about it, and I tweeted an idea where maybe you can use your ban to protect another character, but if the other team decides to protect, it's a stalemate. But if they try to ban the character you protected, they get to ban another character. So it's like if they try to ban Laura for IDOM and they protect Laura, they get to ban Samurai instead. Something like that.
So the protect is a hard read, and if you guess the protect right, you earn a ban.
It's a mini.
So one team will have no ban, and the other team gets a character banned if you guess right on the protect.
Yeah,
I see.
That adds meta. That adds some, because I think that's something missing right now.
I gotta say,
with the first couple of matches, I think it's clear that for most teams, they're just going after if the captain has one character like IDOM and Toy, they ban that, and otherwise you kind of guess on the captain with multiple characters or ban the landmine on their team to get a free win. And I think that's kind of the depth of the strategy right now. But I will say, when playing in it, there is some, like, when before each match we have to discuss who we want to ban. Like they obviously we decide the character bans before we go up on stage. So, but we are discussing it as a team, like who do we want to ban on their team, and what order do we want to pick? And I
think the order is the interesting part to me.
Order is the most important part. That's actually the biggest
Yeah.
thing, because the bans are pretty much settled. Like, it's like I said, that I don't think there's much depth to that, but matching the order is very important, because not only does getting good player and character matchups matter, but you also want to just OCV or just have as many 3-0 wins as possible. So if you can match your weakest player or the player with the worst matchup with the matchup they can definitely handle, that's better for your score overall for tiebreaker purposes. So the order, I think, is not talked about as much, but that's like there was some intriguing discussions amongst like my team for deciding that. So there was some strategy with there, but the character bans, I feel like, it's not in the culture. If everyone had secondaries and this keeps going, everyone will be like, I want to participate in this, and I'm going to work in a secondary for that. Yeah. And I think that'll be better later on if this keeps going, where people are like, yes, I want a secondary, so I want to win Street Fighter League. But springing it on the season 1, people are focusing on one main for the most part for CPT. So it's just not in the culture of Street Fighter to be having multiple characters at high level, except for a few people.
Yeah,
that makes sense. One of the options I did talk to production about, I was like, hey, how about next time around, since it's 2 round robin tournaments, everybody plays each other twice, right? I was thinking that maybe you can't have repeat bans from the initial time you guys fought up against each other as one of these solutions for, not letting
that's a good one.
IDOM play or Toy play, just as an example. Yeah, I mean, I do like Anton's option a lot, actually, where if they guess it right, it's like a mini game within the tournament.
That's some mind games.
Yeah, that's interesting. The double round robin, and you only get certain bans certain times, so you'd probably see different team orders and then different bans.
Exactly. Yeah. So cool. Everybody, majority of the time, when you've seen it like these past couple of weeks, Team Storm is the main target. They would always ban Laura, always banning IDOM's Laura, and then same with Team Psycho. You'd always see Toy get banned. So you're not going to see maximum potential from these team captains. And then you see people try to aim at like Punk. They're like, yeah, we're going to ban Karen this time. I think that's our best shot. It's like, no, not at all. I got to be honest. He's got like 20,000 characters. Even the ones that aren't on the roster, he's going to beat you with.
He's a cheater.
Yeah, he's proved that pretty much with that Goodwill event that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he can play whoever he wants.
That's why the strategy when we played them was to ban JB instead, because what are you going to do about Punk? Ban a landmine, and it's like at least you have one guaranteed win. The strong character specialist on the team, get rid of him. You got one win, and then just throw everything that you got on the captain and hope to shut down an OCV situation.
Yeah, when I saw Punk just mirror all the Colleen players last season, I was like, well, he's broken. He just picks the same character and it's like, I have better footsies, so you can't beat me.
Yeah. He did that at the Red Bull National Finals for North America region,
against
right?
Nephew,
he did that. Yeah, he counterpicked Nephew with his own character.
He did it to Momochi also.
Did he beat Momochi?
I think he did when he picked Colleen, yeah.
Yeah, I know he beat Nephew. I'm not sure if he beat Momochi.
He did it like at E-League against Momochi, I think. He just does it with Colleen because he's like, this character is so stupid. So when I play against her, I just pick the same character and just whip punish their buttons with my buttons. I'm like, I mean, if you're the best, it works.
I have a quick aside though. Do you guys agree with the way they went about picking like the voting and then the online tournaments? Or would you rather like they have set 3v3 teams, so it's actually fleshed out teams created by, you know, like people that team up together, and then they try and get into the tournament with correct order. Like it's team tournaments to get in instead of voting.
So instead of a draft, have teams that earn their way in.
That's interesting.
I like the draft idea. I just think the problem with the voting concept was that it was way too short.
Yes.
It happened during the final round weekend, and I barely even remembered to do my own promotion for it to get in. And there was also the Goodwill voting at the same time. And they were both incredibly short from the moment it went off.
And it was confusing. It was confusing to vote.
I couldn't vote on mobile.
Yeah.
So like I was at final round trying to vote and I couldn't vote on mobile. So then I just didn't get to vote in it and it just like ended. I was like,
it ended way too fast. It should have been at least a week-long process.
For sure.
I should have been able to go home and stream and campaign and other things like that. Like, you know, Smug didn't participate and everyone's like, love Smug. Where's Smug? Constant. That's like the number one comment you see in the stream chat. I'm sure maybe if he had more time and if he wanted to participate, he would have just streamed a few times and gotten in free. It's just one of those things where I don't mind the voting part, but it was just too short and too like under the radar for it to really flesh out like it should.
Yeah,
and it was the voting final round.
And the voting part is fun. Like when the summit voting happens, it's long enough that you can watch it, and there's like a countdown to like when the voting's gonna end, and like they do a good job of like making the elimination moments interesting and like stuff like that. But this was just like shit happened so fast, and I was like, wait, who's in what now? Like it happened so quick. I was like, what's going on now? I didn't know. It was too fast.
That gets me kind of excited too. Now that you've kind of re-brought up MK, when we have the summit next week, all the drama that's going to ensue with all the players that the last chance players that made it, when you saw that Smash GG drama unfold of people kicking each other out with those last minute votes. I can't wait to see that kind of interaction with those guys.
Yep.
It's going to be
dude, the summit's
going to be crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like the
summits are always
what
good.
happens when you don't have that like the Eastern Asian overlords destroying your ego at every fighting game you played. You know, in every Street Fighter scene, Tekken scene, you just have so many people just destroying the Americans for years. And then NRS is like when Americans run wild and dominate everything.
Yeah, no one plays it. They're like, what? You got to rip people's heads off? Gross.
I feel like American tournaments are very feel good for American players.
Oh yeah.
We have a general feel, like a feel we have a shot like the regionals, like Northwest Majors. I'm sure it was feel good. It was everyone that we knew, and it wasn't just Tokido's going to win the tournament or like Fujimura, who I feel is like very robotic. I think he needs to step up.
His stream cracked me. Did you see this clip of his stream where his cat was in his lap when he was trying to play?
Yeah, he's a lot more. He has more
and he still
personality than he shows in tournament.
Did he hit the cat?
The cat threw all the kunai because the cat was stepping on a button and it just released and threw all the kunai. I was like, oh no, and he still won the round because he's Fujimura.
That's how. Yeah, so that's how easy it is to play Ibuki. You can have your cat play for you, and then
your cat can play Ibuki.
Hit up Event Hubs. The next article. Cat wins
plays,
the round for Fujimura. Top player, not even earning his own spots.
It wasn't even like Fujimura wins. It's the cat wins, not the character. They do Gustavo more injustice.
Right.
I think Fujimura is a cool ass dude. That's what I'll say. I think he's the coolest. He's like one of the few people, not just Japanese players, the few people that every time I see him, he says hi. He's like a really nice guy. I think he's a really cool dude. So you should check out his stream on Twitch. He has a lot of viewers. I think he's neat.
I never seen him stream. What hours does he stream at?
What's the link?
I think it's Fujimura, and then there's numbers after it. I don't know what it is.
Help.
I watched
like 303 or something.
313.
I'll give him a follow right now.
Yeah, he streams on Twitch. Dude, he has like 1,000 viewers on Twitch when I watch. He has a lot of people watching.
The Japanese players are actually like very popular streamers. Like
it's FD_Fujimura. That's right. Yeah, someone linked it in my chat.
Yeah, the Japanese get a lot of viewership. They have a lot of fans, and then they also they always play like retro games after playing some Street Fighter, and people eat it up.
Daigo streaming Fire Emblem, dude. The best sponsorship I've ever seen on Twitch was Daigo at TwitchCon EU for Gillette. He just had like this face cam, and this German lady came up and shaved his face with a Gillette razor.
I'd be terrified.
It was the funniest thing I've ever fucking seen in my life because he looked so unhappy the entire time. And like once it was over, he like touched his face and was like, okay. And then the stream that was it. That was like the whole stream. Like it was, I was like, I can't wait to use Gillette now. Like I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, apparently Curly pointed out in the chat, did you see the new ad with Daigo in it? I'm not sure how it's fully fleshed out because it's like a HyperX ad, but it has like
that's right,
animated portion of Daigo transforming
so cool,
into the beast.
Dude, that ad is sick as fuck. I got it on
Have
Instagram.
you guys seen the full ad? Have you seen the full thing?
Yeah, I got the ad on Instagram, the HyperX ad, and it's like the only ad I've ever watched.
Wow, because I've always seen
What
the 3
is that
second
ad?
clip.
Am I
It's
living under
super
a rock?
So it shows like the players as well as like the athletes in their normal form, their normal human form.
They turn into like lost smoke
And then-
monsters.
Dude, so Daigo is he's looking very stoic. He's focused on the monitor. He's playing on the stick, and then like a split second after, he turns into this animated person where he's like super angry. He's got like a fireball charged up. It says Daigo on the side of it. The animation is super sick. He looks fucking beast.
Yeah, the 6 second clip is on Daigo the Beast Twitter, and it's just this segment with him. But I haven't seen the full ad.
It's
They
good.
do a really great job. Like Gordon Hayward's on
really
there. They have
It's like all the
Shroud as
influencers
well.
HyperX has. It's cool.
Yeah, Pokemon's on there as well.
But yeah,
It's
apparently it's
really-
going to be during NBA, some of the playoffs.
It is.
That's crazy.
That
That's
reminds
great.
me of when E-League was happening. It was during like I think the NBA Finals or something one year, and they like read off the announce. You could tell that they had the card, and they're like, "Join in this Friday as some of the best fighting game players in the world like play out." And it was like he's reading from a card, but in my head I was like, "This is the sickest shit I've ever seen."
They pulled a panel, like it's a graphic of Ryu in the Street Fighter V. Ryu is just like that or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a small graphic that pulls to the side during the game. And it just is like, hey, tune into this at this time. And he was talking about it. The best Street Fighter players in the world. I was like, this is the coolest.
I know he's reading off a card because when we did E-League, we were like, check out Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report is the #1 way to get sports news and information. Like, we're reading some shit about that. We don't care. We're like, oh, Bleacher Report. Like, we're doing the same shit for them. So I was like, all right. So
That's pretty funny,
it was pretty
actually.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of hit pretty much everything on here. I just kind of like bullshit it, just hang out with you guys.
Yeah, it was just a
about,
hangout session, really.
I wanted to hear more from Anton because Anton had so much more to talk about.
I had so much to say, but I didn't want to rudely interrupt.
Just go in. That's what I was saying.
No,
That's how it works.
This is where it cuts down to like, all right, we've done the podcast. We're done with this. This is like the director's cut. Anton, say what's on your mind, bro.
Yeah, final thoughts maybe.
I think everyone's a fucking idiot. That's
Okay, so
especially regarding the West Coast versus East. So everything that I wrote down right here, like fucking the West Coast struggles. Like we really do. No one has followers. People, you can say they don't work hard, but they do stream. They just don't know how to stream correctly. They need to build up more personalities like we used to at Wednesday Night Fights before. Fucking me and Sherry doing the piggyback got me more followers than anyone else ever. Wednesday Night Fights needs to get back to that. We don't want to stream Eunice. Everyone wants to stream Street Fighter 5. Everyone wants to watch Street Fighter 5. Look, even if you beat Commander Jesse, you have to get through JB, you have to get through Dake Diaz, you have to get through Alex Vi, you have to get through Christy, you have to get through Alex Myers, you have to get through Stupendous just to try and win one Wednesday Night Fights. And then every week Wednesday Night Fights has fucking international people trying to invade us, trying to fucking Big Bird, Phenom, out of nowhere, like fucking real international level players that can easily win.
yeah.
Fucking Princess Slim, just great. She's a great player from the East Coast. Like, it's really hard to consistently make a name for yourself at Wednesday Night Fights. And also,
And NLBC for that matter.
And at NLBC. It's like being a small fish in a big pond. It really feels that way. And it's very hard to really break through as a personality when we don't really even have time. We stream top 3 only. And we're all fighting for that 15 minutes of fame in that top 3. It's not like Wednesday Night Fights is only Street Fighter 5.
Right.
Not anymore. No.
That's interesting.
Okay, one thing is, I feel like all the players you mentioned, that's a good problem to have. So I just feel like the tone you presented, like, oh, it's so hard. We have all these people there. I feel like that's a really good problem to have.
It's a first world problem. Yeah.
That's a great problem to have. I mean, I remember my locals I would go that when they existed here in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, it was 8 people and all of them did not know how to play. And I just beat them over and over and would spend my time teaching them. And that was my local. So I feel like that's an amazing problem to have. But you do bring up a good point where the amount of time allocated per game is cut down a lot.
Yeah.
So you don't really have much of a shot unless you get into the top 3 position to really get on the stream. Because there's a lot going on one event.
Yeah, and I agree with you that Wednesday Night Fights did give me a lot back in the day. But that's because we only really did Street Fighter 4. So Wednesday Night Fights didn't have 10 games before. We had 2, 3?
Yeah.
This show
And
that
Injustice was
multiple-
completely side stream. Tekken was like after Street Fighter. Like, that's what, or sometimes before Street Fighter, before we ended at 4 a.m. And it's really, we have people that are like landmines to improve. We fight for that spot. And I feel like Wednesday Fights should really focus a stream on Street Fighter 5 if they really want to grow. And like, it's really hard to showcase personality because we don't have time to, do foolish things that people want to watch. People don't care if you win a local. I don't even remember who won Wednesday Fights 3 weeks ago. Like, it's just, they want to see, we're in this new age of streaming and new age of media where people want to feel like they're part of the experience, like they're living vicariously through us. Like this podcast, for example, they want to hear us talk. They want to be like, feel like they're a part of it. So like they want to watch us play board games. They want to watch us do other things that aren't just Street Fighter. Yeah, of course, everyone is like good at Street Fighter. Everyone has like Rob TV should be practicing to be the best, but they really want to like talk to him. That's why content is important, and it doesn't have to be just focused tutorials, focused gameplay. I feel like there's a lot of different ways to market yourself just to like feel like you're the homie, even though like we're just on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to use Wednesday Night Fights only as growing a brand, it's kind of stretched thin since there's so much going on. I do see that
personal
as being
streams
an
I
issue.
think are more valuable, right? If you have 200 viewers on Twitch and you stream for 4 hours, you have way, way, way more impact than a stream with 2,000 viewers where you play 1 to 2 matches and maybe that's it for the whole time. Even as a commentator, I don't really like on Wednesday Night Fights. I get on, maybe do like an hour and a half, and then I'm like off. And the amount of value I find in doing that compared to doing my own stream is like way less. Even when my viewership was even when my viewership is lower, like even when I stream like a game that's not a fighting game, right? The amount of interaction and like time you can have with someone is like way more personal and way more like you can build a brand and a following differently. I see what you mean about that, but having it is still, there is still opportunities to make like that one clip that's really funny or like that one moment or get on the mic. And dude, I mean, I don't even do commentary at Wednesday Night Fights most of the time. Almost every time I turn it on for like 6 months, it was Chris T doing impressions on the stream, like to the audience. And I was like, sick. Like all these people know about Chris T doing impressions now. Dope. Like I'm not over there, I don't go over there to hog the mic for that exact reason so that other people can get on. That's why when Rob TV was in town and it was Rob TV and Sherry on the mic, and then after the tournament was over, he was there like spitting all he wanted to do. Like that wouldn't have happened if I just went and commentated the whole time on the mic, right? Like, so I get what you mean about having that time. That's why he had that platform to like go and talk about what he wanted to talk about. But I don't know, it's good problems,
Yeah, there's just a lot of rules now that we have to follow, and the esports rules at Wednesday Night Fights.
Is
And
there?
Esports rules? What
There
esports
really
rules?
is. We
I
can't-
don't say I don't.
I need to know about these rules.
I went
can't
on
cuss
there
on
and was
stream.
like, "Oh, we're gonna stream Street Fighter 4 mobile now. This shit sucks. I'll see you guys later."
I loved it. The game was awful, but I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah, and they stream other games because they have obligations to stream those games, when clearly like the most popular game they stream, is the main games. But
yeah, I guess Wednesday Night Fights streams a bunch of different games, and the thing is that Wednesday Night Fights isn't like a stream. The real reason, I think, right? Everybody knows that the reason Wednesday Night Fights doesn't like start at 9 and end at midnight, and it goes for fucking 15 hours, is that it produces way more content for them that way, right? It's the reason why they want all the top threes and all the finals for all the games on Twitch on like Wednesday Night Fights' stream, right?
On the mainstream, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense why it's all like that. But it also means that for like a player and an attendee, it's like, God damn it, this shit takes forever. That's why I leave. I take my ass home to sleep. I'm like, I gotta stream in the morning. I'm not staying until fucking 3 in the morning to commentate Wednesday Night Fights. Getting the fuck out of here.
It's very true. So I guess the final thought from everybody is that West Coast and East Coast are the best.
They have all the advantages in the world.
We're extremely privileged.
yes, they have great food.
Oh, our food is amazing. Right?
It takes advantage
Are we
of
about to
all
talk
the
about
things they
this
have in their
food?
life.
Brian
They
is
don't work
never.
hard enough.
Every time I see Brian, he has something snarky to say about when we're eating together. It's just because he's never invited.
That's actually not true.
But she's always
it's
invited.
You harassing me when I'm trying to piece
No.
away my
Remember?
food.
So perfect.
Oh, in the West Coast eating food, are you, Brian? I thought you said you never ate and lived off the sunshine.
NCR.
Oh.
It all started off at NCR. We were having a pizza, and he's like, "Another one of you Another one of these West Coast gatherings.
That's because there's 30 people trying to organize into 3 cars, and they asked me to join them, and I say absolutely not. This is going to take 5 hours to get the meal, go get some dessert, get some boba after, try to organize this whole trip. When I'm over here at a major with many things to do, play some games and Uber Eats real quick and hang out with the people right here. Just this West Coast culture of going around with 17.
I'm inviting your bitch ass to next tournament.
It's just so you guys just cannot get organized.
If
I got 5 people and one Uber XL, we can go do that.
We're going on a date, Brian.
You guys are just crazy.
Shut up.
I don't have this issue. I just am like, are we gonna eat food? I have a 2-hour break before I have to do 6 more hours of commentary today. We got to eat right now, or I'm gonna fucking murder someone. And then I eat. And
that's exactly it. We have the same blocks for our.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm working. I need to eat. I need sustenance, and then I need to get back on the microphone.
So Brian needs to go with us. I think this group here, this specific Foursquare here, and Ringe as well. But next time we'll invite you, bro.
Right. I just think it's funny. It's
Brian. You want to get Chipotle, dude? Are you down?
I'm down.
We can. Yeah. So go to your nearest Chipotle. We'll call you from there while we're eating Chipotle as well. So we could, just do this.
Dude, that last Chipotle we had was terrible. Like I couldn't even finish the meal. Like,
that
it was
lady was
really?
so stingy. She was so stingy.
She was stingy, and she had like.
The Chipotle by my house. So we came over. They came over to my place and we got Chipotle. The Chipotle by my house is one of the Chipotles where you have to double your rice and beans because they give you like 10 rice. They give you 10 rice. They give you 10 rice. I counted.
You could count it in one hand. I was
like, this motherfucker. I don't have 10 fingers. I was like, this shit is crazy. You gotta give me some rice, woman. I'm trying to eat. I was like, come on, man, hook it up.
Yeah,
it was awful.
I didn't like it. It was pretty bad. We should go somewhere else other than Chipotle, Brian. Honestly,
Chipotle is not Mexican food. For whoever said it in the chat.
There's an interesting divide in West Coast culture where obviously they value the experience of a large group dining and going out and getting food together. Whereas at East Coast events, I feel like most of the time we just eat quick and keep playing games with each other and hang out near the event.
It depends on you.
That's about it.
And also, like, Sherry is one of my best friends in the FGC too, and but she even brings up the great point. She always like bitches at us. Where Anton, how come all of SoCal always just like I don't know how to say it. Like they split off into their little cliques, and leaves the venue as soon as they drown in pools or as soon as they lose. Like they all just go out to eat and they never go back to the venue to play. That's like a West Coast mentality too.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel
I get that. But they play in their rooms with just their friends.
Well, that's a big problem of having venues with no place to play casual. That's just how it's going to happen. That's why
exactly
Combo Breaker is the greatest tournament to ever exist because you can
everybody
go
gets
to the
out
venue
of the
at any
room.
point and play all the games you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Brian F. and I played Dragon Ball Fighters at like 11 p.m.
I was like, this Bardock guy is kind of cheap, huh? And you're like, oh, just hold up back. No, Bardock has still been the number one problem.
I commentated 58 level 3s at Evo, Brian. I lived through it. I fucking paid my dues.
You were eating your words. When you said, no, just hold up back at the start of the... I was like, yeah,
at like the 40th level
good,
3, I actually didn't even know what to say anymore. I'm like, hard knockdown. Here we go. Everybody get excited. He went high. I was like, what am I supposed to say?
But it was great. We had the opportunity to play at an event where I feel like, especially for commentators and people playing in tournament, they don't have as much free time to find these casual setups. And, it's stupid that I have to go to a major and try to find a way to... Maybe I bring the PS4, someone else travels with a monitor because I will never fly with a monitor. That is insane. It's
hard as hell too.
I've done it. These pieces to have Illuminati sessions in our room, and we have to kick people out. It's like, well, we already have 30 people, and this room meant for 2. I'm sorry, I don't.
Itabashi has been playing for 6 hours straight in the money match room, and you're like, you can't get him off.
He did that at multiple final rounds that I've been a part of.
He does that at every tournament.
He would commandeer every station. I'm just like, well,
every picture I see of like the casuals room, Itabashi's always there playing.
Yeah, he grinds like more than any other Japanese player. Most of the Japanese players also do the Illuminati tech because why waste their time playing us when they can go play each other?
They have the setups. They always have one room where they have like 5 consoles.
Yeah, if you ever manage to get lucky enough to grace the rooms, I was with like Strider one time at Canada Cup, and he got invited, and then I just kind of walked in behind him into the Japanese.
They just assumed you were his twin brother.
Yeah, that's pretty much they called us both Tom Cruise, and then we kept playing because that's actually been a common thing.
Bro, dude, the first time I met Ono, that's exactly what his translator said to me. It was like Capcom Cup 2017 or 2018, and Ono just leans over and says something to his translator, and he goes, "Ono says you look like Tom Cruise." And I was
said
like,
the
Really?
same
That's
thing.
happened to me several times.
Is that weird that I kind of felt the same way the first time I met Steve? On his side profile, I was like, you kind of look like Tom Cruise. I've said this to you before.
He does not look like Tom Cruise.
Well, this
I
was in the
have the
very beginning
emote.
when I met him.
I
I've
have
seen
the
it.
emote in
I've
the
seen it
chat.
with his clean shaven face and just the side of his. I felt like I was like, oh,
I'm
shit.
gonna make the young Tom Cruise emote in my chat so that I can have
I'm
one.
telling
too.
you, man, it's not.
It's just gonna be a picture of Brian F, and it's gonna be called Sajam Tom Cruise.
I already have my own cruise from the I don't know, it's from that Vine from forever ago.
It's so
But
fucking.
yeah, it's
he
very
said
true.
that
Every
shit to me.
Evo, every Evo, when you meet like new Japanese players for the first time, I've heard it every single time.
That's
It's-
mad fun.
it's
At least
always
you guys
It's a
like Tom
compliment, I'll take
Cruise. That's definitely a
Yeah,
compliment.
Tom Cruise is great, dude. What's wrong with you guys?
The Japanese treat me like I'm Buddha and walk past me and always poke my stomach. They're
I
always just like,
I legit get XSK Samurai by everybody. Everybody. I
Yeah,
kid
they're
you
a big fan of your Akuma.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have glasses anymore. Then we wouldn't be
That's
able
right.
to-
You used to have the glasses too. Damn. Everybody.
It was
So the
messy.
moral of the story is what we really realized about this podcast is that everybody's fucking racist. That was
Figured
the
it
point.
out.
That's what we discovered today.
Yep.
West Coast, East Coast doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. No matter where you go. People think I'm Tom Cruise. They think Brian's Tom Cruise.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Yep.
Strider's
Well, I
Tom
mean-
Cruise. God, Strider is reaching.
No,
He's
not even
humongous
close.
and he's buff.
Yeah, he's not even close to Tom Cruise. I don't know where the hell they got that from.
but Strider's not even white, right? He's definitely
Oh, you got to ask him. I don't know.
He's Hispanic. He's
He-
Hispanic,
he-
isn't he?
he's definitely Hispanic.
Well, Strider, when I got top 8 at Combo Breaker, Strider, we had played for like 2 years at majors without ever saying a word to each other. We kind of just sat next to each other and played, and that was kind of how I knew Strider. It was just one of those things. Hey, what's up? Play. And then I got top 8 at Combo Breaker, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Did you get top 8?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "White people, let's go!" And I was like, "What? What are you? Okay,
No.
is it your last name Gustavo? What are you even talking about?" He's like,
His
"Yeah,
last name's
man,
Romero."
good job, nice." And then I slowly realized that he speaks perfect Spanish and is totally from Mexico. And
Totally from Mexico. I
Damn, he
see.
he co-adopted this top 8.
yeah, he did. He tried to say he belonged in part of the debate. So
He
I wish
claimed
I-
your victory as his own. That's fucked up. Well,
What do they chant white people to? What move?
to
Do we have one?
nothing, whatever I'm on stage to try to make me uncomfortable.
there's
Congrats.
no. You have to have a white person winning at a fighting game to have a chant for them. So it's not gonna happen that often.
And I just have to say I don't know any of these people chanting for me because I'm not involved with anything going on behind me.
We had Viscant win Evo, and after that, it's been all downhill.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so
He's not even,
Filipino,
like-
man.
He doesn't even fully count.
Nobody,
Actually, really.
nobody knows that.
Viscan is
He's
Filipino.
Yeah, he's
mestizo,
Filipino.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Nobody knows that. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that.
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Filipino.
He's Filipino.
Yeah,
That's
I
We
crazy.
forgot
talked- we
about
talked-
that, too.
Yeah, man.
He's
No-
all Filipino. He's not half Filipino.
I think he's half.
yeah.
I think he's half because his last name's definitely not Filipino.
Yeah.
That was like when Yipes at the summit told Reynold that he thought he was Dominican,
Oh boy.
and I was like, "What the fuck is going on in fighting games, man? This shit is fucking crazy." Yeah,
Yeah, he's actually not-
Isn't Viscant Cuban? I feel like I've heard that before.
I was gonna say like some sort of like Hispanic descent, but it's because of I forgot what the story was, but they both met in the Philippines. Was what it was
Damn.
Who did?
for Jay's parents. Oh shit, his real name. Viscant's parents.
Oh,
Everybody's Filipino. That's just how.
Yeah,
it
he's
works.
Filipino. There's a lot of very very light skinned folks in the Philippines.
Yeah, Anton,
excuse you.
you're light skinned.
I'm definitely brown.
No, you're not.
The lighting
I'm-
currently.
Have you seen my dad?
I'm like slightly toasted.
You're pretty pale skinned for a Filipino. Filipinos tend to be pretty dark usually.
Well, it depends on where in the Philippines. Some
Yeah,
could
I guess
be-
that's true.
Some could be fair skin, and Brian F is just not having it. It's like-
I'm too white to be having this conversation. Listen, I gotta back out anytime. These types of
SoCal's just
topics come
tons of
out.
Filipino people, so it's really common. It's not that
Yeah.
surprising.
We're everywhere, dude. I like how the chat is in total disbelief. Like, this guy is not Filipino. This is
I'm in this
Yeah.
movie.
That
Shut
actually-
the
that's
fuck up.
disbelief to me. I definitely
Oh,
thought
I
it was
remember. I remember Snake Eyes said
White
like,
as it gets.
was Filipino. Were you there, Brian, for that one?
For which one?
When Snake Eyes was there, and he was like, "I'm 1/4 Filipino."
What?
Snake Eye said that?
Yeah, and then everyone was like, "Are you really?" And then like a week later, he was like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, I don't believe that
But
either.
he said it in the most like believable way, and Danny Pham was like, "What?"
I don't believe that shit for a second.
Curly's also saying Mike Ross is part Filipino. No, he hangs out with Brian Papa a lot. That's all it is.
That's all there is to it. Yep.
That's it.
I don't know. Filipinos are very overbearing with their culture.
What? Hold on. All I'll say is I'll say a nicer thing instead and say Filipino food's delicious. Hey Brian, if you had Filipino food, we should get 30 people together.
He can't eat any of it.
30
He can't.
people together.
He's not vegan anymore.
He's not vegan anymore.
Yeah.
That's Event Hub's headliner right there.
Yeah, it really is.
You guys
Brian
are
F. No
so
longer
out of
vegan.
date
Are you
with the
kidding me?
lore.
Not a vegan, and he made top 8 at
Exactly.
There was a direct correlation with me
No way.
eating meat and getting top 8 at a premiere. What
Exactly.
the story was, after Capcom Cup LCQ in 2018, everything had gone downhill at that point. So that right after I got eliminated, I realized I was too weak to go for the risky stuff. I did no overheads the whole tournament. And then the guy who eliminated me, I beat him 5-0 doing only overheads the whole time. And I said, that's it. I'm going to go eat meat. I'm going to gamble for the first time.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then
Just like Nigel
the next
destroyed
tournament,
I'm so proud of you, Brian.
the next tournament was a top 8 at final round. So some things just lined up there.
Why don't you just
Wait.
eat meat? Simple solution.
You don't eat meat at SFL. You didn't.
I did. Yes, we've sat
I've seen
next
you.
to each other eating the same-
I've seen you take a bite out of a cookie and put it in the same tray.
I definitely did not do that. That is
You fucking did. I was so mad.
He said you
took a bite out of the cookie and
Exposed.
put it back in the same tray. What are you even talking about?
I'm pretty sure I saw you do it.
Brian, do you like oatmeal raisin cookies?
I mean, yes, but that's not the only cookie I
Come on,
like.
get him out.
seem
Get him
like
out
the
of here.
type.
Get him
I
out.
fucking
We're
knew
cutting.
it.
We're cutting the
I
stream.
don't discriminate
That's
on cookies.
We're
fucking
done.
knew
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Sajam will do
Yes.
a proper outro. This is his stream. We'll do a proper outro.
I'll see you guys next time, you oatmeal raisin cookie liking motherfucker. I knew
They're
it.
also
You're
good
vegan
cookies. They're
to the
good
goddamn T. Hey, I like them too.
Exactly.
Let's go, Team White people. You guys have a lovely day. That's the podcast. Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Later.